All right, Devin, you're recording, so go ahead and start if you would, sort of give us your background and then go into your presentation. Thanks, sir.
Well, thanks for having me, Jerry. I have been, as far as the past business that I worked with, was graphic murals. We would actually digitally print large wall graphic murals for architects and interior designers. I would call on the architects and designers and showcase the products and help them find images that would work in their locations. So today what we're going to talk about is just creating a panoramic and using Photoshop in order to do that. So I've set up a quick little presentation just as far as the steps so that you can see it. And Jerry will have access to this in a PDF that he could share with everyone on our the Beaches Photography page. So we're going to move forward here. And this is just a quick guide how to blend images together. Some call it stitching, some call it multiple photography, some people call it merging, photo merge. So there's a lot of different names that it goes by, but typically I call it blending or stitching the images together by taking multiple images and putting them into one. So the clients that I've worked with in the past on some of their wall murals, they were not able to achieve the look that they wanted with a single shot. And it would require multiple shots so that when you increase the design elements through graphic art, or through the graphic art, let's see, Jerry, what just happened there? Okay, I was on, I went to off the screen there for a second. But anyway, we would take the processes of having multiple shots so that you could expand them out to fit the particular wall space that they were looking for. So if they had a 40-foot long wall by 8 feet tall, you would have to shoot in the normal camera mode and shoot maybe 3 or 4 shots to fill that space when you increase the sizes of it. So when you take those images, the process to combine is what I'm getting ready to show you guys and how to get started with it. So when you open Photoshop, if you'll go directly into the file area there, just press the file, it'll open up for you. And you'll move forward to going to the automate position. When you get to automate, just go to photo merge. And this screen this box will actually pop up for you. In this box right here is what you want to do. The bottom 4 boxes on the actual screen that just popped up, you have what they call a blend images together. You want to click that so that you have that available, and that's going to be used when they combine the images. When you click on this, you'll go to the select browse, and this photo merge box will come up for you. And then I would like for you to go down to the bottom where it says select content aware and click on that. What happens with the content aware is if you're hand holding your camera there and you move the camera slightly to the top or to the bottom and you try to merge the photos together, the content aware, if it's off at the top or the bottom, will merge the images together and create additional image inside there to make it all cohesive, where everything fits together perfectly, and any void spots, it'll clear those up for you. So after you do this, you're going to select your images that you want to merge. So you'll go into your screen or your drives or your external hard drives or whatever you need, select the images, and you'll pull those up. When you pull those up, you want to go ahead and highlight them. So you highlight both of the images there, and you'll have to pardon on the bottom of this screen where the content aware is. This was a screenshot, so it didn't save that there. I was a little out of sequence when I put this together. But typically the content aware button would be filled in as well. So once that you do that, the images that I selected were files 4030, 4013, and 4015. So both of these images, if you look at them, I've overlapped by about 1/3 in my image so that if you grab enough content when it's putting the two together to make it merge evenly. I had found if you do maybe a 10%, it can get it most of the times, but sometimes it'll be a little bit off. So the more content that you can give your image when you overlap them and merge these together, the better. So this was the 15. And then it'll start creating the merge process for you. This may take, depending on the number of images that you're merging, if it's 2, it may take 2 to 3 minutes to do it. If you're looking at 9, 10 images, it can take up to maybe 10, 15 minutes, depending on how fast your computer is and the size of the files that you're utilizing there. So what happens, everything's merged, it comes together, and it provides a file for you here. And then you can take this file and actually save it. I recommend saving that either in a TIFF format or PSD format. And then you can go back and work on a copy of that. So if you want to make changes to it, you want to create colors, whatever you want to do in your Photoshop processes to make it look like you want it, or that designer wants it, or your client wants, you can make all the changes to that and keep an original for yourself so that you always have that to work with. So basically that's it as far as photo merging. It's very simple, very easy to do. This can also be done in Lightroom. So if you wanted to select, when you open up Lightroom and you have 4 or 5 images there, you can select all the images, right click on that, and then you can merge all of those images together at the same time, just like what Photoshop would do. So I'm going to move forward here and I'm going to show you a project that I was working on. And the project actually is for the Carnival Cruise Line ships. This was the original concept that was provided, and what they were looking for was a mountain range with trees and snow caps involved with this. This was to go 287 feet long by 35 feet in height there. So I reached out to a photographer that was actually in Minnesota, and the gentleman there that you're seeing in this on the right-hand side, he shoots with a Hasselblad camera. It was a 75 megapixels per frame on there. And we sent him out to a location in Long Beach, California, or close to Long Beach, California, to take a shot. So what you're looking at, let's see, right here in the center is this mountain range cap right here. And this is the top of the mountain range right there. So with the Photoshops, or the photographer, he takes all the images like you see down here for this particular shot and stitches everything together to create the file. This is the actual Long Beach cruise terminal for Carnival. This is the embarking station where you go inside. This is the cruise ship that's on the outside. So as you go into this location, you'll see the walls that they were putting this on. So this is the left-hand side of the wall. From this area right here to the top is 35 feet. And then from the left edge of the wall, the center edge of the wall, and the right area of the wall, this is the full area that they were wanting to cover. The challenge for this was we had a file that was created. The file, first of all, was huge. It was a 75 gig file. So the gig file, 75 gig file, had to be broken into quarters to be able to send to us that we could actually print from. So each file was printed independently of each other. All the colors were changed independently of each other, and they all had to match at the same colorations that were there. And when we started printing this, we shipped it out within about a month and a half, and the first panel was installed from the very top all the way to the bottom, and it was worked from the center location to the right and from the center location back to the left. So we were shipping these in quarters or intervals as we had them printed out. And this is what the entire installation had looked like when it was completed. So if you guys want to go online to Carnival Cruise Ships, the embarking station at Carnival Cruise Lines, you can look this up online and you can actually see it in the installations and the shots that they have as far as their celebrations of opening this building up. So what I also tried to do is put some panoramic examples together of some of the other shots that I'd had. This was from 2 shots. It was out in Valley of Fire, just outside of Las Vegas, about 45 minutes outside of Las Vegas. And you can drive through these locations and just see these beautiful areas that are there. This was 2 images that were shot. This is in the same location with 2 images shot, but the build, or the area here is called the Elephant Mountain, or Elephant Stone, I believe is the name of it. So the stone actually was shaped in an elephant. I found it kind of interesting to go out there to be able to shoot this. This was 2 images again. This is in Philadelphia. This was interesting because the client was considering having a taller wall space. So instead of shooting horizontally, I actually shot vertically on this. So this was 5 images stitched together So that way, when you blew it up, you had more space to the top of the wall and for the bottom area. So this could go up to 10 feet easily and be expanded out to about 40 feet. This was another image where one of the clients, he actually used to swim here as a child. This is in DuPont State Park. I know several of you guys have probably been there and seen this, and just an absolutely beautiful shot there. And this was 3 images were actually stitched together. One of the last ones that I have done was 9 images that were stacked or shot vertically and merged into Photoshop. I actually had Craig O'Neill go out with me on this shoot. I was having a little bit of trouble getting the settings and taking the images quick enough without the sun going down too fast. So you can see from the light, or from the right-hand side, it gets much darker than it is on the left-hand side. That's because the sun was starting to set, and I really had to take these shots pretty quickly to make it all come together. So this was the shot that was selected, and this is the shot installed at the Jewish Community Center over on San Jose. And this was a 40-foot long mural, or 48-foot long mural, that was placed inside their location. So, and basically that's the presentation. Thank you for your time. If you have any questions, feel free to ask, and we'll just open it up.
For the sky, oh, sorry. For the skyline, how many shots were they?
The skyline, there was 9 shots total on that one.
Were they on a vertical? You did it on vertical?
They were on vertical, yes.
Yeah.
They were on vertical. Also,
Okay.
I had that on a tripod because a lot of times what will happen on there, maybe if you're in your different locations, you need to make sure that the shots are completely level so that when you turn that camera, that you don't have it trailing off or up or down one side to the other, because if it's off level, you'll kind of come across the buildings, or maybe you can cut the buildings off, or you may not capture enough at the bottom. So it's very important to have your tripod very, very level when you're shooting that.
One of the things, I'm sorry, go ahead, Roxanne.
No, I've always heard it's better to shoot panoramics in a vertical mode.
Right.
Do you find that? Like, I mean, I've seen you've had like some of you, when you did 2, it was like landscape. But
Right.
All the times I've ever done it, it's in the vertical, which means you have to take a lot more shots.
Right. One of the things that I had found, and one of the reasons that I ended up changing my camera, was to have a camera that would shoot with more megapixels there. So by having more megapixels to be able to work with, I could still expand out the heights and the widths on there without losing as much resolution. But yes, you definitely get more height if you're shooting in the vertical mode than you do with the landscape modes there.
Okay, thanks.
Now, what I've done in the past actually is I'll tilt my camera up and do a series across the top in horizontal, and then tilt it down and come back and do another series across the bottom.
Sure.
Horizontal, and then stitch them together top bottom.
Right.
Have you ever done that?
I have done that. Honestly, with the camera that I've used, I've been successful with just being able to do one row of shots. But like the one that we had for the Carnival Cruise Line, that had to be shot just like what you were talking about, Jerry. If I can go back to that one just a minute, I'll pull it up again. And let's see here. So this little head that he has on the top of there, it's basically computerized. And he was shooting with that Hasselblad camera, and I think it was the 70 to 200 that he was using on that. But how he actually set this up, he went to the top left-hand corner of the image where he was going to start shooting, and the bottom right-hand edge of this, and set the parameters. You can also, inside this little head there, you can set up how much overlap that you want in there. So he would set that up to about 25%, and then he would just press the button, and the head would turn automatically for him and make each shot all the way horizontally, and then it would come back horizontally and go down a little bit lower and shoot just like what you were talking about.
One other trick I found, and I don't know if you've ever done this or not, is that say you're taking a picture of a building, right?
Right.
And you have some traffic or a car that's moving along there, and you take overlapping frames. If you overlap them enough, you can make those cars disappear.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I think that's another trick that most people don't know, is when you're doing panoramics, if you do enough overlap and just, take one when the car's there and one when it's not, you can usually get them to disappear.
I agree. I agree. So guys, any other questions for me?
Yeah, okay. Do you have to use a JPEG to stitch together, or can you use raw files?
I actually use my large files, but I will take the raw files, but I take them and put them into a TIFF file first and just combine them all together. I don't want to lose any resolution. I know JPEG, it compresses the files. Even if you still have it at a higher resolution, the JPEG file still does a lot of compression inside of there. So I don't want to lose any information from my files. So if I keep it in a TIFF or a Photoshop file, then I have all the information that's there.
So you're saying you could take like 3 Photoshop files and merge those together?
Mm-hmm. It creates a very large file, but you can definitely do that.
Okay.
Devin, do you normally, when you're converting them into TIFF, do you go in and modify, camera raw filter, do whatever you're going to do to modify the file first and then stitch them, or do you stitch and then go back and play with it?
I stitch and then go back and play with it, because if you try to start changing each individual one, that gets very difficult to be able to hit it right on every one of them. And it's just not going to work for an interior designer. They do not want that. Everything's got to be consistent and accurate to what they're looking for. So great question.
But you do turn it into a TIFF first.
I do.
Why do you do that versus trying to just stitch the raw files?
I think it's just a matter of preference, just working in that. A lot of the graphic artists that I've worked with in the past, when I send them that TIFF file, it's something that they're used to. They're able to work with it easily, and that or Photoshop has just been the way to go for my line of business and what I was doing.
Okay, but what I mean is you can always export them save them as TIFF after you've stitched them, but you create the TIFF file before you stitch them, right?
No, well, I take the TIFF file, go ahead and stitch the TIFF file, create it in the TIFF file, and then I put all the TIFF files together and stitch them together. Yes.
Okay.
There's probably an extra step there that I'm adding to it.
Devin, do you make any let's say, for example, there are buildings and they need to be aligned parallel or whatever. Do you make any corrections before you stitch it, or you do that after the stitch?
Do that after the stitch. Once they get all the images together and you put them together, then you can go back and make the changes to the entire file, not just one simple area inside there. I feel like if you start changing anything inside the images, and let's say you make an adjustment to a building and you've got it overlapped in that second image and you haven't made the same adjustments to it, then maybe they won't stitch together properly. Mm-hmm. So take all the images, put them together first, and then go back and make your changes to it.
So I guess the biggest benefit of a panoramic, from what you've said, if you don't have a wide angle, is if you wanted to print something, it makes the file larger, right? Am I getting that right?
Correct.
Is that the main reason for doing a panoramic? I mean, a wide angle lens can probably capture all what you've captured, but yes, it can't if you're going to print it. Okay, so that's the main benefit.
That is the main benefit for what I was doing. A lot of the images that were available to these designers, they were going to stock photography. Stock photography like iStock, I know Corbis has it, Shutterstock has it. Well, those images, a lot of the people that upload images there, it's great if you're going to be doing, a 2 foot by 3 foot image. But if you're trying to do a 8 by 10 wall, your resolution, it gets lost so much, because they'll upload images that may be from a 10 megapixel camera or a 16 megapixel camera. And it's great for like when you're shooting smaller images there, but if you're going wall size, you end up losing a lot of resolution. The interesting thing too, when we would produce these images, they would be printed at 75 DPI at full scale size. So every inch was 75 pixels in every inch there. So it doesn't sound like a whole lot, but visually when these printers print this and you stand away from the wall, it's almost like a huge billboard. So the further that you stand away from this wall and can see the entire image, it looks crystal clear. If you get up close to it, it's almost like your television, if you will, when you walk up close to that TV and you can see the pixels, and as the further you move back away from it, it comes much clearer. It's the same type of thing that you receive in the wall murals.
Hey, Devin, you mentioned that you switched cameras to get more pixels. What did you choose?
I went with the Nikon 850, so I've got about 47 megapixels per frame on there. And then with having the ability to take that one image, you can actually take one of those and you can go about 8 feet, maybe 10 feet, up to 8 feet in height as well. So with one shot. So if you have several shots that you can take, you can easily do 2 or 3 walls with a single shot, as long as you're stitching each one of them together. I lost you, Liz. I lost the sound.
I keep clicking off. What lens do you primarily use for your shots?
You know, it just kind of depends. I really like my 24 to 70. I like that a lot. It shoots really well. I use the 70 to 200. The ones that were taking, the shots that were taken out in the Valley of Fire, that was a 70 to 200, I believe. And I could stand far enough away from it and still get the clarity that I was looking for on that.
And one last question too, which is, you mentioned that, you know, keeping things still as you're doing the panorama and kind of lined up. Do you use any sort of a brace or bracket on your tripod, or do you just, how do you do it?
I actually have a level on my tripod, so you can set it up and you can have everything leveled out before you actually put your camera on there. And then I have the adjustment ball on the top of it, so I set everything up level, and I'll do test shots before I ever start and make the changes as needed, because I'll move that camera through and just look at everything and make sure that I've got like the skyline all the way above the buildings, or if it's the riverfront, that you've got water all the way across the bottom of it like it's supposed to be. So I just kind of do it by eye, but I'll take a look at it and just make sure that I have all the buildings and the forefront in there that I want, and try to make it larger than what you're actually wanting, so that you can take those areas and crop them down, or what do they call that? Scale the image to where you want it. I have found, I was listening to somebody, I think we had a meeting a couple of weeks ago with a gentleman, and he was talking about
scale. Yeah.
Scaling your images.
Right.
And I didn't realize that you could scale your image without losing resolution on there, versus cropping it where you take that information out of it. So I have started kind of working on some scaling the images there, so you don't lose anything inside what you're working on. Other than
it messes up though, like if you've done a bunch of layers and then once you scale, it's like,
yes,
it doesn't line up right.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was interesting.
Devin, have you ever used Topaz Gigapixel AI?
No, but I want to.
One of the things I found, and Roxanne, this is with the 7 to 14, I'll go out and I'll take a picture with that, right? And then I'll crop it to be a panoramic, and then I'll use the Gigapixel AI to bring in additional resolution. It works really well.
What is that? Is that in Topaz?
It's a Topaz add-on.
Oh, okay.
It's called Gigapixel AI.
Yeah, I got that.
And you can download a trial version of it if you want to try something. But I use it quite a bit, especially if I've got just a single image out of the 7 to 14 that I really want to bump up the resolution on. It works good.
Right.
Okay, I need that. While we were talking, I took some shots on Sunday, I believe, and so I merged them in Lightroom. So I'm going to have a look at the results. I can post it tomorrow. I noticed a difference in the clouds. But anyways, I'll post it maybe on Facebook to show the difference between what I got from the panoramic and what I got from the actual wide angle lens.
Okay.
But I guess the biggest thing is going to be the size of the file, which you can't really see, right? But anyway.
The size of the files, they get extremely large depending on how many images that you put together there. There is a, Jerry, you've probably heard of this company or this site, WeTransfer. WeTransfer is great to be able to send images if they're larger files, so that you can send those over to someone and they can actually download that image. And WeTransfer is actually free. You can get a free subscription to it, and you can send over images, you know, as you like.
Actually, I have not heard of
Used
it
to
all.
transfer to Raven Image?
I'm sorry.
Devin, is that what we used to transfer to Raven Image?
It may have been. It may have
Okay.
been. There were several that I was using, but one of the latest ones that I've come up with is called a WeTransfer. And it's just so nice to be able to have that and be able to upload large photography there. In the past, we were having to go to Dropbox and different sites, but it was very challenging to be able to get some of the larger ones. Like I said, the one image that we did for Carnival Cruise Lines there, that had to be broken down into 4 separate files, or quartered, if you will, because it was so large. And this company, Gigapixel is the name of it, the company that's has the programs and everything in the software for the stitching. And they actually offer not only the stitching software, but they offer the head and the little computerized head that moves for you. I think it's probably, I want to say like less than $2,000 for this computerized head. My problem was when I looked at this and thought about it, I'm like, where am I going to go to get a mountain range that I would want to shoot that much? It's like, this was a once in a lifetime. This particular image right there, that photographer, that company charged $10,000 for that image.
Wow.
So there was a lot of money that they made on that. And that was to fly him out there, to have him set it up, to have him go out there, put all the stitching together and provide the image. And Carnival actually paid that directly to their company, and they provided us the file.
Hey, Devin, can I ask you to step back a second? Because to Roxanne's point, I was going to try to do it. And you said Photoshop, file, automate, and then photo merge. Is that what was next?
Go back in here really quick, and we'll just take.
Just use Lightroom, Liz.
I don't know how to do Lightroom. I can do it on my phone. That's the only place I can do it.
So automate, photo merge.
Photo merge. Gotcha. I didn't write that down.
Photo merge. And then your little box will come up, and make sure that you select the blend images together and the content aware on that. And select the images that you want in your browse. And once that you do that, you're going to highlight both of them. There's the selection. You're going to highlight both of them, and then it'll start the process of merging your images together for you.
So Devin, on the, you know, like on the photo merge, it says you've got all these different choices of how you could photo merge: auto, perspective, cylindrical, blah, blah, blah. Do I just do auto?
I did auto on most of mine there. And when I would put it together and I would send those files over, I left that up to the graphic artist, but I would just send it to them. If they wanted it something different from me, then I would go ahead and make the changes as they wanted it and then send them a new file.
Gotcha. Okay. So
Wow, I just did those 2. So the original image was 16 megabytes, and just merging 2 came up to 74. 74 megabytes, so it really does increase it. So, you know, I'm always confused about resolution and all that. So how is that going to make printing better?
I can tell you.
I am very fuzzy on printing.
From my perspective on this, when you're doing a photo merge for a digital wall mural, you're going to have the higher resolutions in order to make this happen. If you're doing a small print, you're going to have so many DPIs there. Honestly, I did testing with this with some of our sales reps at the time. We had 28 sales reps come in, and I had 3 different murals printed, one at 75 DPI, one at 150 DPI, and the other one at 300 DPI. I took all 3 images. They were full strips, 5 feet wide across by an 8 foot tall strip. All 3 were the exact same image. Mixed them up on the walls before the reps ever came into the room to have a discussion with them. And I said, tell me which one is different and which one has a lower resolution versus the higher resolution, and put them in order for me. Nobody could do it. It's really interesting to me when you have a file that large, you're probably not going to see a difference if you take it down to say 150 DPI on there and still print it at that. I would say 75 DPI, you're going to be taking a lot away from it, and you probably would not be happy with your print on a smaller print like that because you're going to be up so close to it. So probably the higher 150, 300 on a smaller image, you're going to be good with that, but you're going to have an enormous file, and that printer's not going to need a file that's that large to print from. So,
Hey, Devin, did you see, is there a quality difference between doing this in Lightroom or in Photoshop? Have you seen?
I did not see a difference in it. I mean, both of them worked extremely well, and they were such high resolution. The graphic artist and the designers absolutely loved the images when they would go and work on them. So they had enough resolution to work on them, to make changes to it, and they were able to manipulate them properly, Fred.
Fred, I would suspect they're probably sharing a lot of the code back and forth on those. I'm not sure there's a lot of difference in those modules.
I got you.
So how do we upload, and are we able to upload to your, in Zoom or no?
What do you want to do?
I was going to show you the differences between the two, the one I merged and the original. Like
Okay, so what you want to do is at the bottom, you should see something that says share screen.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
You
I
see
can
that?
always put it on Facebook, yeah. You mean down at the bottom?
At the bottom of the Zoom window, you should be
I'm
able
working
to
with
share
two screens.
And
I
it's,
can always do it. I'll do it on Facebook.
oh, okay, okay.
Because I don't want to take up the meeting with this, but it's kind of interesting that the merge. What I like about merging is that it made the clouds look different somehow, and you know, it's I have more height on the top. I have more height. I guess basically is the bottom line.
Do it, Roxanne. Share it with us, because
I'm trying to fit where
There's a
Okay.
thing that says share content. Can you do
yeah,
that?
well, you know what? I'm working on two screens here. I have my,
Do you have it on Facebook, Roxanne?
no, I don't have it on Facebook. I just have it in my on my computer, but I'm trying right now. Okay, let's see, view options. No, where do I knew I've seen somewhere where I can upload, but right now all I'm seeing is Devin's presentation.
Should say share content or share screen.
If you
No,
look,
I can't do share screen. I have to upload it because I'm working on two different. Oh, you
Well,
mean bring it
drag
across
it
the
over
net?
to the other screen. Share your
Oh, let's
screen
see, let's
and drag
see.
it over.
Okay. Yeah. Then you're gonna see all my secrets over here. No,
We won't tell anybody.
no, it's in my. I'm looking at it in my browser, and
that's okay, Roxanne. What we can do is,
yeah, I'll do it on Facebook. But it's very interesting because it changed the whole feel of the photograph.
one of the reasons for that is when you take those pictures, the clouds move, right?
Right.
And so if the clouds are not exactly the same, when it merges them, it tries to figure out how to piece them together.
Yeah.
And so you may not get something in the photo that looks a little bit different than it actually
No,
is.
I like it. I like it actually.
Roseanne, that's where the content aware comes in as well, because it'll pick it up and blend it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It says I can share the screen while the other participants are sharing, but it's okay. I'll post it on Facebook. I'll put the two. It's just very different. How and I have to look. I mean, I don't know if one is softer or anything like that, but yeah, kind of interesting. I like that I can see more sky. With most of the wide angles, you don't get a lot of sky, right?
Hey, Devin, I did it too on and it worked pretty fast, and it's just like pulling a lot of different things. It's kind of
So
cool.
can you share yours, Liz? I can't share mine.
No, because I'm on the same thing. I got it on a separate machine. So
No, mine is on the same machine. I'm just on a different screen.
or mine's on a separate machine. But I'll mess with. Plus, I want to mess with it.
Yeah,
So
have some fun with it.
I'll mess with it, and then I'll share it later. It's
Yeah.
from when Moody and I went out, and it'll be interesting because it's me and my baby camera, and he was like his Milky Ways. But this is fun. Thank you, Devin. I wanted to know.
You're welcome. Hopefully it's easy and you guys got something out of it. I enjoyed doing this. It was a lot of fun. You guys, thank you. Liz, first of all, thank you for mentioning that, and Jean as well. She sent me some emails on this, and Jerry hooking up the video side of it. Without Jerry, I couldn't have done it. So it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. So hopefully I'll find another position doing something in this in the future. So,
Well, let's talk separately, because I want to see what happened with Steve Parker. Plus, let's all think about, we use us all on LinkedIn.
absolutely.
Anybody we know.
Yeah. Well, guys, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. That's all I've got, unless you've got any more questions. But Jerry, thank you for hooking it all up for us and getting this to come together.
Thank you, Devin.
Thank you, and we will
Devin. It's great.
we'll take this recording and put it on the YouTube channel, and send out the link later, so you'll be able to go back and see how you did on it.
Perfect.
Okay, and I'll post my stuff on Facebook.
I am not about to open it up and look at it.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, you guys.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.